Before last night, we already knew the Bush administration had spied on some U.S. journalists inside the U.S. Last night on this newscast, we revealed the new allegation that Mr. Bush's National Security Agency was systematically, 24 hours a day, monitoring not just individual reporters, but entire U.S. news organizations, as well as other organizations, the identities of which we still don't know. Tonight in our third story, Russell Tice, the NSA whistleblower who revealed that breathtaking claim on this program last night, returns, and he is breaking more news. First, some context. In the New Yorker magazine last year, reporter Lawrence Wright revealed that the FBI had asked him about phone calls he made to a British lawyer who was representing former jihadists, calls the FBI thought that were made by Wright's college-age daughter. More than wiretapping was at work here. The name of Wright's daughter was not in the phone records. So how the hell, Wright demanded, did the FBI know his daughter's name? In 2007, Wright asked Mike McConnell, then Director of National Intelligence. His reply, I don't know. When Wright found it troubling that his daughter's name was on some NSA list somewhere, McConnell said, quote, it may be troublesome, it may not be, you don't know. As Mr. Tice is about to clarify, now we know. But first, yesterday we asked the NSA to comment on his allegations. The agency declined, saying only, quote, NSA considers the constitutional rights of U.S. citizens to be sacrosanct. The intelligence community faces immense challenges in protecting our nation. No matter the challenges, NSA remains dedicated to performing its mission under the rule of law. That from a Bush holdover at NSA. No reply yet from the Obama White House. Returning to our program tonight, Russell Tice, former NSA analyst, now a very public whistleblower. Thank you again for your time tonight, sir.
Good evening. Thanks to you.
Last night we discussed collection of phone and email data, envelope info, like the length of the call, but also the content. But the information they collected on journalists and other people, this was more than just phone and email info?
Well, as far as the information, the wiretap information that made it to NSA, there was also data mining that was involved. And at some point, information from credit card records and financial transactions was married in with that information. So the lucky U.S. citizens, that tens of thousands of whom that are now on digital databases at NSA who have no idea of this, also have that sort of information included on those digital files that have been warehoused.
Does throwing that kind of information in there too, your credit card records, where you have spent your money, does that make it clear to you who used this information or why it was used or what the goal was of gaining it? Do you have any better idea of what all of this stuff was used for?
Well, the obvious explanation would be that, you know, if you did have a potential terrorist, you'd want to know where they're spending money and you know, whether they purchased an airline ticket or something like that, and you know, that sort of thing. But once again, we're talking about tens of thousands of innocent U.S. citizens that have been caught up in this trap that they have no clue. You know, for this thing could sit there for 10 years, and you know, then potentially it marries up with something else, and 10 years from now they get put on a no-fly list, and they won't, well, of course, won't have a clue why.
All these tens of thousands of people that you referred to, did they at least have possible ties to terrorists, like the story of this New Yorker magazine reporter, where there was a phone call made that at least is a starting point, or do they not even have that?
In most cases, they don't have that at all. You know, this is garnered from algorithms that have been put together to try to just dream up scenarios that might be information that is associated with how a terrorist could operate. Like I mentioned last night, the 1 to 2 minute pizza delivery call, and things of that nature, of which an innocent citizen could be easily, you know, tied into these things. And once that information gets to NSA and they start to put it through the filters there, where they have you know, language interpreters and stuff, and they start looking for word recognition. You know, if someone just talked about the daily news and, you know, mentioned, you know, something about the Middle East, you know, they could easily be brought to the forefront of having that little flag put by their name that says potential terrorist. And of course, you know, this U.S. citizen wouldn't have a clue.
This massive thing obviously did not grow of its own accord. Do you know, or do you have an educated guess as to who authorized this and who developed this?
I have a guess where it was developed. I think it was probably developed out of the Department of Defense And this is probably the remnants of a total information awareness that came out of DARPA. That's my guess. I don't know that for sure.
The previous reports of individual incidents suggest they were looking for leak sources. In 2006, the former NSA director, Michael Hayden, was asked if he targeted political opponents of the Bush administration, and he refused to answer. Was that one of the factors in determining which journalists they targeted?
I don't know the answer to that. But you know, from the avenue that I know about, everyone was collected. So you know, they sucked in everybody, and at some point they may have cherry-picked from what they had, but I wasn't aware of who got cherry-picked out of the big pot.
Do you know who got to see the data? Who might have done any cherry-picking?
You know, I started looking into this, and that's when ultimately they came after me to fire me, and they must have realized that I'd stumbled onto something. And after that point, of course, I had no ability to find anything else out.
To your knowledge, is all of this still going on?
I do not know whether it's going on or not going on. I haven't had access for or knowledge for some time now.
Can you be specific at all about the news organizations that you mentioned last night? How many or which ones? Was it everybody who worked at a news organization, or just people who would be reporting on national security issues?
I have to be careful about answering that because of sources and methods. Okay. So I'm probably going to unfortunately have to pass on that one.
All right. Well, that's the only one of these questions that you have, so we'll give you that one. Russell Tice, former NSA intelligence analyst, once again scaring the crap out of us, but thanks for doing so. It's better to be informed and scared than uninformed and not know what's coming. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
One reporter who